Welcome to MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. Each week, I talk with industry leaders on both marketing and entrepreneurship and business to find out all about their wins and failures in marketing right now. We'll hear all about successes and wins and what's fallen flat so that you can take that knowledge and implement it. Learn from the best, from the folks who've been there and done it all, as well as people just like you. Thanks for joining us. This is MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers.
And welcome to this week's episode of MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. And this week we're talking with Chelsea Spencer. He's the Managing Director at Big Reputation, which is a marketing agency dedicated to building strong brands and delivering significant business results. Chelsea's strategic problem-solving skills and straightforward approach have earned her a reputation for effectively turning big dreams into reality. Sounds fun. With experience in brand protection at Alton Towers, which we'll get into in a moment, and leading market efforts at several different organisations, it's safe to say Chelsea is passionate about bringing personality back into business, which is something that if you've watched this before, you'll know is well aligned with my own interests. I'm a big fan of personality shining through in lots of different marketing ways. So first of all, Chelsea, thanks very much for being a guest on the show and welcome.
Hi, Paul. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Good to have you on the show. And yeah, like lots of interesting background there, but I guess that I ask people for a fun fact, and not all fun facts are fun. Some of them are a little bit more intriguing and interesting. And having worked myself in quite a serious capacity in retail at times, I've got an inkling of what's about to come. But yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that experience being thrown in at the deep end at Alton Towers and what happened there, what you have to deal with as a result of all of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and can't really call it a fun fact, but my first ever proper job was while I was still at university. So I was 19 years old and back in 2015, and I landed myself a job on the product excellence team at Alton Towers. You might be thinking, what does product excellence mean? But actually, the question you should be asking yourself is, what happened in 2015 at Alton Towers that was an absolute catastrophe? Obviously, there was a huge crash that everyone knows about, and my team that I was working on was the frontline response. So we looked after the social media, customer services, day-to-day complaints, emails, phone calls. We were like the frontline response to anyone that was contacting the park at that time. And being 19 and that being your first job, that was only really a weekend job or a summer job while I was at uni, was very intense. I didn't even know how to dress to go to an office, didn't really know what to wear, how to turn up, what to do. And then all of a sudden we were under national scrutiny because obviously this terrible thing had happened. And it was me answering the phone at 19. It was really intense, I would say. But it gave me an incredible grounding to, I guess, boost my career from. And the amount that I learned in that space of time was really incredible. I count that to having a really good boss at that role. In fact, the best boss I ever had. No one's quite lived up to it just yet. But yeah, that's my fun fact. I started my career under duress.
It's an amazing story, and yet so many of the guests that we speak to have that kind of baptism of fire story somewhere in their history. And I've got something similar that way back when, and I would never change some of the things that I've been through. They were horrendous at the time to go through. Really steep learning curves and lots of hard things being pushed in your direction that nobody really wants to deal with. But realising that actually the buck stops with you and just having to take ownership for that and deal with it really does forge a lot of tenacity and grit, I think, which is essential for being strong in business. So if you would just share with us a little bit about how you got started with Big Reputation then, because that's an interesting name for a company, and I'm sure there's a good story with it as well, right?
Yes, I am a massive Taylor Swift fan, and Big Reputation is one of the lyrics in her song Endgame. Also, the Reputation album where she obviously had that argument with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, and she disappeared for a year because the amount of press coverage was just really intense. And then she came back and launched Reputation, and then your reputation here is now a really big thing. And I started big reputation off the back of leaving a job that I wasn't particularly happy in. I wanted my own business now, I'd say, for the past 5 years. Never really intended to. I actually wanted to be a lawyer when I left university. I fell into sales and marketing. Decided that I really enjoyed it. Worked in a few different agencies and in-house roles, and then thought, actually, there's so many things that if this was my business, I'd do better. Classic, probably business owner story. But yeah, I wasn't happy in my last job. But you know what, I'll just put my money where my mouth is and I'll start this up on my own. And yeah, came out thinking like, okay, call it big reputation. What is the point of marketing? It's, yeah, people say to make more money, but also I work with a lot of clients that want a big reputation. They want to be the first people that someone thinks of in their industry. And the domain name was free, the Instagram name was free. So I thought, you know what, why not? We'll just call it big reputation. And people love the name. Yeah, it's a great name actually. And I love it because obviously there is a story behind it.
I like that. And I heard a phrase the other day that I probably heard in lots of different ways before, but it really resonated with what you're talking about there is work so hard that people don't have to ask your name. And I really like that as an idea. Become the person that everybody talks about and you're known so well that naturally business will come your way. And I think that's true for a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses I speak to really struggle with the idea of separating out sales opportunities and leads and prospecting from being well known and having a lot of awareness about who you are so that the right people come to you. And I'm a big fan of just trying to help people see the benefits of this bit over here. Whereas if the investors and everybody want to get these sales over the line, what people don't realise is that it's a really short-term way of doing things. This bit over here is worth far more.
I think in terms of your reputation as well, like obviously I have a marketing agency, but I don't even market my own business. All of my stuff has come to me, like you say, just from word of mouth and having that reputation for being good at what I do and what we do as an agency. And I do believe that your reputation isn't just like what people think of you. It all stems from your character and having that really leading with integrity, having a really strong character. Might not make you the most popular person, but I think it gets you respected. And it definitely means that people believe you and they trust you if you say you're going to do something for them. And that's, to me, what a reputation is. People will believe you when you say that you can do something. And that's where sales are made, the trust.
Question then. I speak with a lot of business owners who have transitioned out of a corporate job, much like yourself, much like me. We've all kind of had enough and we've decided to do things our own way. I know from experience that many people in corporate world aren't allowed or have a lot of restrictions on showing their personality in social media and on LinkedIn. And, you can't say things about this. You can't speak to customers. You can't speak to people who are voicing off against us even. And I've seen people sacked over these sorts of things. So it's very much ingrained into a lot of people about reining yourself in. What's your advice for those people who have made that transition to help them feel comfortable again about sharing their personality and being true to themselves?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory, actually. So after I left Alton Towers, I got a sales job, which was in an international company. It was Robert Half. They're a big international recruitment company, and they put us through the most intense sales training that I imagine probably exists. They're an American company. All they want you to do is sell. And I remember after about 9 months, my manager sitting me and the other graduates on our intake down saying, we have trained you so much that you've become like corporate robots, and it's actually harming your ability to sell because you all say the exact same thing in the exact same way and it sounds robotic. And I remember being sat next to this guy who was an absolute maverick, and I think he lived on a farm at the time and he had some emus, and he'd ring people up and then they'd remember who he was. They wouldn't remember his name, but they'd know him as the emu guy. He just had so much more success than any of us because he'd obviously not listened to the corporate jargon and spiel, or he'd been there long enough to know that he needed to cut through. And it got me thinking, actually, people do buy from people. This was all going through my head when I was 21, 22 and really fresh into the world of work. And it's really stuck with me since then. And now when I've gone into these other jobs, I've been in jobs where managing directors haven't taken me to sales meetings because in the end, people end up thinking it's my company because we can sell better than that person and more convincing. And if I'm not, I just have really strong opinions and quite a bubbly personality in many ways, but people warm to it. And that's always what's, I guess, led me to be able to sell well or to communicate well with people or to have referrals. And in the corporate world, you might be targeted with sales or whatever your targets are, but actually, the thing someone said that really stuck with me is they don't want you to be really successful. They just want you to comply to whatever system is created. And if you can't do that, then that's actually not your fault. That's the way that the system works. And that's why I think, especially in the creative industries, which we're both in, Paul, like people do tend to break away and step out of the corporate machine and then start their own creative agencies, I know, videography studios, whatever it is that's creative, because you can't successfully be, in my opinion, creative, opinionated and personable and then thrive in an environment like that. It just doesn't make sense. My advice to people that have come out of that situation would be, you clearly came out of it for a reason. So what's the point of still letting your own boss or whoever it was have that power over you? Just be yourself, because now you have the freedom to be. And instead of being scared about that, be grateful that you now can be.
Hi, and thanks for joining us for the show. I'm Paul, founder here at Javelin Content Management. We specialize in getting ideas out of your head, down into video, and out to your social media through repurposing and efficient content strategies. If you want to find out how you can convert your ideal audience into paying customers, reach out to us, javelincontent.com, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
And I think it's the biggest advantage that small to medium-sized businesses have over the larger corporates, is that they can react in the moment and be confident that they've reacted in a way that speaks to their business. And also they can speak their mind and be honest and open with people. Whereas once you've got tied up in that bigger corporate machine, and I understand it, like you've got to, at some point, the business has got to grow up, and that the processes and workflows that happen and departments that appear out of nowhere, all of a sudden, there's all these tick boxes that you have to comply with. And I think you're exactly right. I think people now more than ever in 2024 appreciate that personality that shines through from certain people. And I think more or less, and I'd be interested to hear your opinion on this, Chelsea, is like people with a strong personality, with a magnetic personality, or even that are just aren't afraid to be transparent, can actually get away with or more or less completely organic marketing just by being themselves.
My experience, I'm literally just myself, and then people seem to warm to that, and that's how I get referrals, leads and things. I think that opinion is at levels with what I think. And I feel as well that this is going to sound a bit rude, but I think people can sense you. So if you're not authentic, or if you are saying things in a way that's self-serving, or there's a lot of talk around like growth hacking around marketing, like you can hack this and you can hack that. But there are no hacks. Like just show up every day, do the work, and people can sense that you're a trustworthy person and will then want to work with you because, again, they sense that transparency, that openness. You use the word magnetic, which I think you do attract like for like people. So yeah, I guess that's my opinion on that one, if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. I don't think there's any right answer, to be honest, to a lot of these questions. I think it's just, and that's what we want to share on this show, is we're here to help small business owners make smart decisions with their marketing and help move them down that path some way, shape or form. And all of these questions are probably bouncing around in people's head, wondering whether they're doing the right thing or not. And I talk to people every day who just really want to do the right thing by their business, but have no idea where to start. And I think we build marketing up to be this huge thing that at the point where most people are at, it doesn't need to be that. It just needs to start somewhere, and you need to begin. And that's better than waiting for perfection, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think coming back to that, I studied English literature at university, and I'm so glad that I did, because I came into the world of work. I think an ex-boyfriend told me to go out and be a salesperson because he was like, oh, you'll be good at that. It's probably like getting me out of the house, and he knew that I'd be working longer so he could have some peace. But then I threw myself into that world, and that I had much more success of getting leads through LinkedIn than I did through cold calling. We were just talking about this. I'm actually really introverted, and like cold calling, I can do it, but I hate it. So yeah, I was actually really strategic in how I approached it through LinkedIn. And then I'd have people ringing the office up to speak to me, which in that sales job that I was talking to you about earlier, was no one was doing that. No one was ringing the office and asking for people. Like, people were ringing outbound cold calling. And I'm really grateful that actually I didn't study something like business or marketing, because I didn't come into this with any preconceptions. In fact, actually, I had a really good grounding in the customer services / product excellence role I had at Alton Towers, where all I did was I learned to listen to people.
Yeah.
I learned how to read people. You had hundreds of thousands of people that we were responding to in a given day, week. I just had to learn how to read people really quickly. And it came down to most people just want to feel valued, listened, appreciated, and cared for. And I think because I've always approached marketing and sales with the customer in mind and being empathetic towards them and wanting to actually truly understand where they're coming from, I think that's why I've been successful in this career. Not because I've done this new hack or jumped on this latest trend. Like, to me, it all comes back to people. And that's why I'm really glad that I guess I've had the segue into marketing that I had.
Oh, I think it's a really interesting point. You know, we've got a guest coming on the show in a couple of weeks. There's a young guy by the name of Devram, who I met through LinkedIn. And do you know what? He's 16. He's running a business. He's already got customers paying him hundreds of pounds a month already. He's just finished his exams. And he automates business processes for people. It's very simple, no code sort of stuff. But you know what? He turned up in my feed. I've no idea who he was. He showed up in my feed. He added some value in my comments. We had a conversation. I moved it to the direct messages and we had a chat about how a 16-year-old ends up in my feed on LinkedIn. And now he's coming on the podcast and I'm working with him on lots of different pieces. I've put businesses where it's marketing is only as hard as you make it. And I think if you're trying to be something that you're not, you have to work 10 times harder than just accepting who you are and who you're not and building your marketing around that. I think too many people are scared to say who they don't work with. They're too scared to be transparent. Yeah. And you can call that niching, you can call it just being open and honest, but I think there's a lot of value in people sharing that as part of their personality even. You know, you can have a qualified candidate, qualified client, but actually you don't gel. And your marketing should have got rid of them before that point.
Yeah, I like that. I have a mentor actually, and we were talking the other day about the vibe checks and stuff. And I think a lot of the time, especially when you're a startup business, like I've only been in business since the back end of last year, and you do think to yourself, oh, this is a really lucrative opportunity. And I think if you're good at what you do as well, you get an abundance of opportunities. But where I've seen a lot of people fall down is they say yes to everything. They don't qualify properly, and then that is ultimately what comes back to haunt them, because it damages their reputation if they don't actually do a very good job. Or they start so many different ventures and they can't fully commit to one thing that all of them burn out and then it doesn't do very well. Then you end up with the problem of, oh, that's Chelsea. She does this business and this business. What does she actually do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the point of obviously marketing and big reputation is I want people to have the biggest reputation in their industry. And that's what marketing should be. Someone thinks, oh, if you want a new car, you usually have a brand in mind of what car you actually want to go for. And then the salesperson just has to meet your payments or whatever it is. Yeah. That's what I want to create in terms of the marketing that we do for our clients. And that's what marketing should be. You should want people to approach your business like it's a car. Like they really want to work with or drive around that brand every day.
Yeah, that's a lovely analogy and a nice way of putting it, I think. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for just acknowledging where you don't want to go, what you do want to do. And to your point, you know, when you mentioned having multiple businesses, I think you can have multiple businesses, but you can't market to each one of them indirectly. And I think that's where personality comes into it nicely, because if you're the person you are, people will naturally be attracted to, be aligned to and synergize with you. And at some point it will come out that you have a business that does X, Y, and Z. You it will shine through that business represents something that gets you out of bed on a morning. For me, it's helping people make better decisions. No matter what I do, every business I work with is aligned on that. And I think to people who have 2 or 3 businesses, your LinkedIn page should reflect you, and how you come across on social media should be your personality. The businesses will look after themselves as a result.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, actually. I think it's when you end up sharing so many different things on your personal thing, or you personally don't stand strongly enough for one thing, and you've sat on the fence about all these different things, and it's okay. You end up being a really wishy-washy character, and it's, I don't really know what to think about you, but that's probably because you don't know what you think about anything, so yeah.
Well, you're scared to admit it. I freely admit I was vanilla. I've been vanilla for forever, and my big thing for 2024 was I'm just going to call out all the bullshit that I see, and I'm just going to be me, and I'm just going to say what I would say to my wife or to my friends, and I'm just going to do it in public, and hell with the consequences.
Yeah.
And I think there's a line to be drawn between being yourself and being a whinge bag, because I could be a whinge bag at times, to be honest. I'm 41 now. I'm entitled to be a whinge bag, especially on a morning. But when I'm getting people commenting with ChatGPT comments on my post, I'm just calling it out. I'm like, that's great, but could you turn up with an original comment next time, please? And I'll just screenshot those and send them to people just for giggles now, because it's like I'm so tired of it all. AI is amazing.
Yeah, but LinkedIn doesn't help. Yeah, I think LinkedIn doesn't help though, because it's reply with AI. Just great, okay.
Here's an AI.
You're wanting people to come to this platform to be engaged, but then you're enabling them to actually not engage, because I wouldn't say that reply with AI is particularly engaging.
No, it's not, and I'm sick of having to delete it. Please, LinkedIn, if you're listening, turn it off. Or give me the ability to turn it off, at least. Give me a checkbox so I can say no thanks. Do you know what? I really like the feature where it gives you the AI generated insight about the topic the post's about. So you want to find out more about that business, that person, that topic.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't personally use it, but I can see how it can be useful to some people. But hey, it'd been a while since we connected. How are you been? No, just no. Stop whinging, Paul. Okay. So moving on to the questions I asked all of our guests this week then, Chelsea. What one marketing practice, if you could pick one market practice that really gets you on your thought box that you wish business owners would just stop using? It's bad for them, it doesn't work, it never worked. Any of the above. You tell me.
Okay. There's 2, but it segues into one.
Okay.
And I'll give you the headline is not having transparent communication for your marketing team. The biggest cause of this I usually see is having a siloed marketing team and not having a defined marketing budget. These are the 2 main culprits. And from being a solo in-house marketer that's had to work with sales and customer services and account managers and finance and everyone else, it's really hard when you're an island of one as a marketer. Marketing should be the driving force of your business. Therefore, it needs open data. It needs access to your CRM and your customer services, whatever it is that you use on there. Nothing nowadays should be done through personal emails, because when that account manager leaves your business, if you don't have a CRM or any way to track this data, everything that is in their head leaves with them when they walk out of the door for that last time. And it's really difficult for a marketer to be able to control and plan. This brings me on to the marketing budget, how they can then plan and effectively drive a business forward. If they don't have the data available and they don't know what money they have to play with, how do you expect them to be able to tell you what the ROI is? What's the ROI on my salary? I don't know. What resources do I have? It's really difficult. So yeah, I would say if you're going to employ a marketing person in your business, don't set them up to fail. Give them all of the information, the data they need. And I think siloed teams come from leadership. If that's the way you set that business up, maybe it's a heritage one and they've always done it that way. You can't just employ a marketing person to come in and fix that problem. You need a complete culture change in how you approach marketing as a business, because really marketing is just spreading information with the hope that you're going to sell more things to your desired target audience. And for that, you need people on the ground telling you what customers actually want. You need someone with a vision that's going to be able to see whatever industry it is that you work in, what's actually going on. what's coming up that could maybe disrupt this. Probably another election again in another couple of years. We seem to have a lot of those at the moment. And being able to like have access to all of the information that you need to make these decisions and effectively plan in a really difficult to plan in world. So yeah, that gets me on my soapbox. Don't set your marketers up to fail, because it's not nice.
I can see that really triggered you. Thank very much for sharing that. I hope it helps get off your chest as well. Good to share these things that annoy us all. And then I guess that's the opposite question then. What's one thing you wish small business owners or medium-sized business owners would embrace more often in marketing?
The importance of building a strong brand. To build a brand, you need an element of long-term thinking. This can be communicated to people in different ways. And if you go on Big Reputation's website, and obviously we're called Big Reputation because people understand that a reputation can take years to build. They don't think about brands being a reputation though. They just think that they can launch a logo and now we're a brand. It's not how that works. We talk about building legacies, which again isn't just an overnight thing. So many people, I think now, because of social media or just complete misconceptions, think that, oh, I can launch a business and then it's going to be an overnight success. Being able, I think, to actually think, no, I want to create a strong brand. This is something that I need to invest in and will take time. Really requires people that are going to show up consistently, do the difficult things day in, day out, have a long-term vision and really want to get there. And it really does make a difference when we talk about marketing and sales alignment. And I do this a lot with my clients, to get the salespeople to start thinking in that way instead of just, I really need to do this to hit next month's quarter so I get my commission. And it gets everyone then aligned, thinking in the same way and doing the best for the business, not just the best thing for this quarter's numbers.
I wholeheartedly agree. There's no better time to plant an orchard. If you didn't plant one 20 years ago, there's no better time to plant an orchard than today, right? Otherwise, you're never going to ever reap the benefits of that orchard. And yet so many people manage to procrastinate and deprioritize anything that doesn't drive them results today. And I think that as much a sign of the times as anything else, where we're driven by mobile phones and endorphin rushes and where we're instantly expect everything to happen now, and Amazon delivers tomorrow and might get it to deliver tonight. And we go into business with the same expectations. If I put enough hard work in today on the things that I can drive today, I'll get results today and then I'll feel better when I get home tonight. It's great, but short-term results are really time and effort intensive. Whereas the long-term stuff, if you build it right from the beginning, it becomes incrementally better. And before you know it, you delivered fantastic results while you sleep, because you've done the right things from the start. So I really resonate with what you've said there, Chelsea. I love that.
Focus and delayed gratification are actually now considered superpowers, because not many people have them anymore.
Yeah, especially if you're ADHD like me, or focus. Hang on a second while I go and edit this video. But no, it's true. And when you think that, I talk about video, you've got 5 seconds maximum, probably more like 3 to capture people's attention these days. That's outrageous to think about. And so when you're thinking about long-term results, like anything longer than today really becomes mid-term results at least. Lovely. I love the points that you've made today, Chelsea. I've really enjoyed the conversation. If people have liked what they've heard about you and Big Reputation, what's the best way for them to contact you or find out more?
So you can go to the website, which is www.bigreputation.co.uk, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Chelsea Spencer. I'm on there pretty much every day. Drop me a message and I'll probably come back to you quite quickly.
Awesome. Thanks very much for being a guest on the show. And if you're at home listening along, watching along, thank you very much for coming along and entertaining another show from MarketPulse. We'll be back next Wednesday at 3 p.m. for another installment with another fantastic guest. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us. If you'd be so kind to give us a rating, that'd be amazing. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to feature on a future show, or you've got some ideas for folks who would make a great guest, please drop us a line. Contact details are in the show notes and I'd love to hear from you. Your host today was me, Paul Banks, founder at Javelin Content Management. Here at Javelin, we specialise in helping busy business owners just like you to repurpose video content, taking all the stress and tech problems away and turning your long-form video into literally hundreds of pieces of content without breaking the bank. We describe it as getting ideas out of your head into video and out to your socials. If you want to launch your personal brand, become the vendor of choice for your audience, or maximise your sales revenue impact, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next Wednesday for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. Our podcast is only possible with your continued support.